Struggle streaming already, and we just started. All right, testing 1 2 1 2. Can y'all hear me? Hey, it's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute. Hey, last week was at work was wild, and I couldn't do all the prep that I needed to do to get all the shows and everything going on. Shout out to you. Thanks for the comment. First comment of the day, Maddie. I appreciate it. Oh, what's going on, Norm? I appreciate you tuning in. Let's see. Just All right. All right, yeah, like I said, the past week been kind of crazy at work, is wild, but I'm back. We're gonna get the consistency ball rolling again. And this video is gonna be dope because we're gonna cover a few stories of some legal significance. Some are looking back at older stories. We'll get into updates, but others are gonna be stories that are a little bit more interesting and fun. And we're gonna start out with what I think is probably the most hilarious story that has there's literally no legal, well, is there a legal thing? All right, we're gonna talk about Usher, y'all. I talked about Usher before because I don't know if y'all remember some years ago he got popped in the strip club passing out Usher bucks, the fake money with his picture on it, it was something crazy like that. He pulled a Rick Ross. But in any event, we got to talk about Usher and his concerts and how he getting all these women to suck on his cherries. It's actually kind of, it's not wild, but we're talking about how appropriate or inappropriate is this behavior. We got to go to this news story. We're going to check it out. Now, the original news story that went out about Usher and his latest cherry fiasco was that it resulted in a man filing for divorce from his wife. I looked it up. I think that is cap. They actually, I seen an article where they interviewed the sister who was at the bottom of Usher's cherry fiasco. She's at the bottom of Usher's cherry situation. She said she was single, she wasn't married, but it sparked an interesting conversation. And her take on it was interesting. I got to take this probably a little bit different, but we're going to dive in and see, talk a little bit about what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. Jonesboro mayor is wild. I could do those stories all day. When we get to that, we gonna get to that. We gonna close it out with that. But first, let's take a look at what Usher had going on. What's going on, E Todd? I appreciate you for tuning in, and I saw your message too. I'll reply to it. I don't really have like a. I mean, other people tell me like, oh, you should get like a Cash App or something like that. It's just I just do everything through the channel family. That's just the easiest way to do it for me, personally. But I don't know. Maybe I do a buy me a coffee or something at some point in time. But hey, I don't know. I don't know. It's a long story, but the answer is everything normally goes through the YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and jump in this story. We're gonna talk about Usher and his Usher cherry fiasco and this sister right here. Now her reaction was actually interesting. Now I will tell you that look that she has right there. I'm not saying that she's infatuated with Usher, but I don't know. It looked like a capital letter O may have happened. She was in the days. It was actually hilarious.
So this is Jimalita Tillman. Wow. She runs the Harold Washington Cultural Center, leads their award-winning theater group. This video has been, I mean, it.
So, and I don't know if y'all familiar with this, but Usher does this thing all the time where he at his concert he do it to celebrity wives. He did it to Ti wife, and Ti was like, "Whatever, I'm confident about mine." Usher not taking Ti wife, but he's like, "I'm confident about mine." But he pulled his cherries out, and of course the ladies do their part. There's a whole little thing, but the story that was surrounding this video was that after this incident, when she was at the bottom of Usher's latest cherry situation, that her husband filed for divorce. I think that's cap, but is this a divorceable offense, I guess, is the question that I have. Let's go and finish going through the video. And occasionally I got to take intermittent pauses because YouTube is kind of wild.
It is blowing up. I mean, tens of millions of views. And she is here. I think we can't show the last bit of this. I don't know if we can show just how intense this got. But Jimelina, how you doing?
So they brought her on the show. She runs, I think, a nonprofit for like stay-at-home moms who homeschool to try to teach them how to do it. From Chicago, very professional, accomplished woman. But her interview was interesting. But the question is going to be: we're going to watch a little bit of this interview. We're not going to watch all of it. But the question is going to be: if your spouse was licking on Usher's cherries at his concert, is that a divorceable offense?
Wonderful. You cannot pay for this kind of exposure. 30 million people?
That's crazy.
For licking cherries? Let's get into it.
Is that what we weren't seeing?
Yes, let's get into it. It's a family show.
Do they not have a concession stand?
He brought them out. Like, Usher's a big Fosse fan. I'm a big Fosse fan. He once played Billy Flynn in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
I locked right in. When he came around with those cherries, I said, well, life is a bowl of cherries. I'll take one, maybe two. And I'm really excited. I'm embracing it. This whole moniker of Auntie Cherry. I'm just going to embrace it.
Yeah.
I'm a woman that's coming of age, and now I'm a retired homeschool mom. I was there while I was retired. Happened to catch the show while I was looking at other theaters for our theater festival.
Yo, shout out to you. I think that's actually a great point. I think she played whatever her status is, but I think she's single. I think that's what she said at some point. I saw in an article. But whatever her relationship status is, this is the best publicity that this woman will probably ever have for herself and her business. And I think that's actually a great point, Norm. She capitalized on it, and all she had to do was lick Usher's cherries. So I think that was actually smart. Yes, but let's watch a little bit more. But yeah, she said she was single, but the original story that went around was that her husband filed for divorce, and it posed the question: is this something that you would divorce your spouse over? I don't know. It's kind of wild.
Looking to produce. The Harold Washington will be in London producing some shows, and I said, Usher's in town. Well, let me go check it out.
She's from Chicago. She was in London at the Usher concert. So based on her background, she's probably definitely not broke as hell. It seems to be a very responsible professional.
Did not see this happening.
Did you?
Wow.
Were you in the front row? You never met Usher? How did it happen?
Well, in this particular instance, there's this area where you sit, and it's funny because they say, Mr. Raymond's going to walk past here. Do not move. He's going to be just walking through.
Okay.
He wasn't even supposed to stop where we were. It was like magnetic, and he smells like vacation. Like Maldives.
Why did he pick you?
Well, it was
Why not, Larry? Why not?
One of the young ladies was telling him I'm a retired homeschool mom and that this should be her moment, not hers. And the lady was from the UK. And he said, well, come on over here because I just finished homeschooling my daughter who finished all her studies last year.
Oh, yeah, she has a doctorate at 17.
At 17,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
ma'am. And so he brought me closer and I locked in.
See, once you hear the story behind it, it's actually like it. I mean, I'm not saying she wasn't. I'm not saying she didn't have the lavender face. But once you hear the story behind it, how Usher, he didn't even go to her initially. He went to a younger young lady and they passed her off to Auntie. Once you hear the story, it doesn't sound as ridiculous as the internet.
I brought out all the Broadway magic that I had, but it was easy. He has a magnetic person, or you might have a shot.
And maybe talk a little homeschooling.
Oh, yeah, listen.
I think she absolutely 110% played this the right way in the best interest of her business. Now, the question is, would that be a divorceable offense? I mean, I don't know. Like, generally, I'm gonna go inside and say probably not. Like, I don't know if my woman is at the Usher concert and she got business and she licks on Usher's cherries, and like, I mean, most wives probably wouldn't do that because they know it's going to be broadcast all over the place. But if your wife did do that and she actually had a business, would you really be upset? And I'm gonna just be honest. I don't know. Everybody was like, "Oh man, Usher's a wife stealer and all of this stuff." Even if she were married, which she isn't, but even if she were married and her husband did file for divorce, you definitely can't blame Usher. He do this to everybody. He do this to everybody. Isn't that really out of to me? I don't think that it's that really big of a deal. Not saying I would want my woman all on Usher's cherries like that, but I'm just saying like, if it happened, like, if I'm at a concert and it's a Cardi B concert and I'm sitting in the front and Cardi B come over and sit on my lap and give me a lap dance, you think I'm gonna be like, nah, Cardi, nah, Cardi, don't sit that thing on me. I'm gonna be on that joint. Like, man, what? I'm gonna be singing all the words to WAP as I enjoy my lap dance. So I don't know. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I just say, hey, if the roles were reversed and Cardi B wanted to stop and give DFD a lap dance, hey, my woman to be like, hey, that's Cardi B, man. What you doing? You better take that, you goofy ass. she would probably call me a goofy if I didn't take the lap dance from Cardi B. So I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal, as much of an issue as the internet made it out to be. What's going on, Lisa? I appreciate you for tuning in. But everybody made a big deal out of it. Everybody was talking about. They got all this new shit on here. I'm looking at all this new stuff on StreamYard. It's kind of wild. All this new stuff on StreamYard that allows you to do all these things. I was like, what is it? What the hell is that? But yeah, definitely not a big deal. Now, this next story is interesting because we're going to take a turn and go to Georgia. This is kind of where most of these stories are at. We're going to go to Georgia and we're going to talk about Young Thug. Now, if y'all aren't familiar, we talked about it before. Young Thug had a RICO case with his criminal organization, YSL, him, Little Woody. It was the longest trial I've ever seen. I think Thug was incarcerated for 2 or 3 years. At the end of the day, during the course of the trial, he entered into a plea agreement where he got a suspended 20-year sentence in exchange for 10 years of probation. 10 years of probation. I'm about as square as it gets. In 10 years of probation, I might mess up. 10 years of probation is wild. If he gets a new conviction, if he absconds and leave and they can't find him, they're going to go pick him up, have him do the remaining time that he has on his underlying 20-year sentence. Now it looks like prosecutors are actually trying to violate Young Thug already. Now, I'm going to be honest. In my heart, I would love for this young man to get out and make music. Hey, I like Young Thug music too. It used to be a little goofy, I thought, until I started listening to it. And I was like, he actually saying some bars if you can take in what he's saying. But I think he's a very talented artist. But 10 years is kind of hard. Like in my heart, I want him to be able to do it, but it's so easy to violate probation. We're going to see what they're trying to violate him for. We're going to talk a little bit about if that's enough to violate him. And then we're going to talk about it's 2 or 3 things that you probably shouldn't do. Everything else on probation isn't a big deal, but it's 2 or 3 things that'll definitely get you violated. We're going to talk about that. Let's see. I tell people, I think he got a good deal. I think he got a good deal, all things considered. I think the prosecution in the case just kind of missed the ball. They like, as an attorney, you never ask somebody on the stand a question that you don't know the answer to. And when Woody got on the stand, it pretty much destroyed their whole case. And to some extent, I actually agree with you, Norm. Probation is kind of giving setup vibes, not all the time, but like one thing you'll see people do all the time, like, okay, you're on probation, you can't associate with other felons. You're like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, everybody I know almost, like, I got family members, friends who got like it. How can I not associate with another felon if these people are like business partners, other artists? That would be like saying, yo, you can't make a song with T.I. because T.I. was convicted of a felony. So there are some things that can trip you up when it comes to being on probation. Let's see what they're trying to jam them up with. We're going to talk about, is this something that's legitimate, or is it just ridiculous and fishing?
New this morning, Fulton County prosecutors are asking for rapper Young Thug's probation to be revoked.
Yeah, a new filing accuses the rapper, whose legal name is Jeffrey Williams, of having a blatant disregard for the law. 11 Alive's Karis Belger joining us from the Fulton County Courthouse. Karis, have we heard from Young Thug's attorney about this latest filing?
We have. Brian Steele did share a statement with our newsroom. In it, he says in part that his client did nothing wrong. As for this filing, it accuses Young Thug of intimidating people using social media. One instance in particular mentions a gang investigator who is also testifying in another hearing and was not supposed to be shown on camera per a court order. The filing alleges that after a known blogger shared a post with that investigator's face, Williams shared the post with the caption calling her the, quote, biggest liar in the district attorney's office. Later, the filing states that the investigator's address and those of her relatives were shared online, and it also says threats were made against Fulton County DA Bonnie Willis. Young Thug's attorney, Brian Steele, shared the following statement with us. It says, this motion is baseless, and while intimidation and threats of violence are never appropriate, Jeffrey Williams has done nothing wrong. We look forward to seeking a dismissal of this petition. So a note about Young Thug's probation agreement: he is not allowed to engage in any sort of gang activity, nor is he allowed to engage in any sort of behavior that could undermine the judicial system. He is allowed to come to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta for business or professional reasons, but he cannot stay for longer than 2 weeks. Also, as a part of this, he has to return to Atlanta 4 times a year for community service, where he talks to schools and youth groups about gang activity and the dangers involved in it. In downtown Atlanta, I'm Karis Belger, 11.
Okay, shout out to 11 News for that story. That's actually bullshit, I think. Is them fishing. I think is exactly what you said, Norm, is them fishing. They don't have enough, like, bro, just because he said that somebody in the DA's office is the biggest liar in the DA's office, I mean, that may or may not be true, but I don't think anyone would interpret that as a threat. They talked about threats being made. His attorney said, if you're a celebrity, people can make threats all the time. A celebrity, Young Thug can't control what these other people put on social media. If they doxed her address, put her address out there, he can't control what those people are doing unless they have some direct evidence that he directed somebody to do that. I think it's all a BS show just to try to jam them up. Literally, when you're on probation, there are 3 things that you generally want to avoid. Now, it depends on what your probation violation is for. So let's say you're on probation for a DUI. Let's say something like, you can have a felony DUI if you get a certain amount within a certain time frame. But let's say you're on probation for a DUI and your license is revoked and you continue to get driving without a license charges, or you get caught for driving without a license or something, or you don't do your community service. Like, it depends on what you have, but generally the 2 or 3 things that you want to avoid is getting a new conviction. Now, a lot of times people on probation will get charges. Now, if the charges are serious, it's going to be nothing that you can do. But if the charges aren't serious charges, I've had clients who are on probation, they'll get a charge. The judge, the probation officer will come up and say, the parole officer will say, hey, Mr. Jackson has got these new charges. And I would legitimately be like, hey, he has these new charges, Your Honor. 1 or 2 things will happen. Sometimes a person will get put on probation on, let's say, April 15th. The new charges weren't filed until April 21st. So the paperwork didn't hit till the 21st, but the offense date was April 1st. So person is on probation on April 15th. They had a previous interaction on April 1st. Let's say it was something domestic violence. The charges didn't get filed until April 21st. In those situations, it's really not that big of a deal, because if the attorney is doing their job when they make the probation agreement, they would say, hey, for any offenses that occurred prior to the probation, those won't count against them for purposes of revoking the probation. Now, it's always up to the judge, but generally, I've had cases where I had a client in that situation. He was on probation, Your Honor. Just so the court is aware, these charges actually, the offense date was prior to the date of his actual probation. So this is something that was already resolved. We believe we can handle this matter favorably with an outcome that'll result in a very favorable disposition. We think we can work something out once this is concluded. You'll say something like that, and that big of a deal. But if you get a new offense and conviction after you're on probation, and the offense date is after the probation, you're probably going to be screwed. If you abscond, you leave, they can't find you for 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 months, anything ridiculous. If they can't find you, you're probably going to be screwed. And again, it depends on what you're on probation for. But some judges, if it's a substance abuse thing, multiple hot drug tests, some judges could be finicky about that. But most judges that I've seen and been in front of weren't, unless it was an offense that was kind of directly related to some type of substance abuse, then they would probably give it a little bit more scrutiny. But I think there is efficient expedition. I hope that this dude can do his entire probationary term, because it'd be a travesty to see somebody so talented go down. And so far, so good. If this is their best case against him, he's actually doing an outstanding job while he's on probation. If they're at your family reunion, you're screwed. Facts. What's the trend with my videos? Go ahead, speak on it. Yeah, he included, yeah, it was someone else. I agree completely. So definitely efficient expedition. If the offense was date was prior to the probation date, never filed a show cause. Yeah, sometimes, and it depends how the prosecutor writes up the probation. Sometimes, I mean, a savvy attorney would talk to his client and know that, hey, I did have this one incident where I had to slap somebody, and they may or may not go. Like, okay, can we get an agreement or something written up in this probation that any offenses that offense date occurred prior to the date we entered into this agreement would not be the sole basis. That's what you always say. Would not be the sole basis for revoking Mr. Smith's probation agreement. That's normally what the attorney will do if the attorney actually know what they're doing. I don't know, because I don't know if that's the case. I haven't looked directly at Georgia probation law, but I remember when the sentence came out, it was a crazy long sentence, like probation sentence, like 10 years. And I was like, yo, I was like 10 years, like even a law-abiding citizen may not be able to do 10 years. Now I want to look and see what they got. Oh man, that's crazy. It's actually worse than 10 years. I said it wrong. I thought it was 10 years. I knew it was long. It says Young Thug's probation terms include 15 years of probation, the 20-year underlying sentence, and then the anti-gang 100-hour community. God damn, 15 years is that's wild. 15 years is that's crazy. The probation sentence is almost long as the damn underlying sentence. That's a long time, but hey, anything that he could do to get out of custody was probably in his best interest. Now we're gonna take a pivot. And talk about super squatters. I almost had a squatter situation. Squatters are the absolute worst, because squatters historically have taken advantage of old archaic laws that were made back when people would go out in the forest and actually like forage and hunt for food. Like, think about it. Tom Jones can go out in the woods and he's hunting for food, and he subsequently get killed, and nobody knows that Tom Jones was mauled by a bear. His house is just here. I walk up on it. I sit in this house. Squatter laws were originated during that time frame, so they actually kind of made sense. And they also took advantage of adverse possessions laws, where if you possess a person's property for a finite period of time, some states is 7 years, some states is 9 years, you can adverse possess adversely possess land from the government. Like in North Carolina, if you squat on government property for 20 years and it's open and you aren't hiding, you actually can take title from the government of that land. I think that would be hard as hell to do. I've never heard of a situation where it was done because 20 years is a long ass time. The government probably gonna get you up out of there, but it could be done. But states have recently, and shout out to Florida, New York. New York has some crazy squatter situations where squatters actually like deleted a lady who was going into the residence to make sure it was clean for her family members that were visiting. I mean, New York has some crazy laws, but states are just now getting on board. And I think Florida took the lead saying that, yo, these squatters are terrible. We're going to increase the fines and penalties for people who squatting. If you provide fake documentation trying to prove that you're the owner, we're going to make it even worse. So squatter situations are terrible. Luckily, I dodged it. Had a squatter situation with my grandmother's property in New York. It was the absolute worst. And I was like, this is going to suck. But luckily, it worked itself out. So let's take a look at this next story. It's a story about some super squatters, is what they're calling it. Let's dive in and see what's going on.
This new case is being described by the homeowner as next level squatting. She and her husband say the person inside is posing as the new owner with bogus mortgage documents. They are demanding that laws be changed to protect property owners, and one state lawmaker is working to do just that.
Since Thursday, we have been fighting to get these people out of our property.
Standing in the rain, practically begging a stranger to move out of their home. Marcia and Carlton Lee never.
He looked mad. They both look upset. Like, I actually feel really bad for these people who have to deal with these situations because it's to no fault of their own. It's been homes their grandparents or their parents probably left them. It's somebody there. And if they go to try to kick the person out or change the locks, like we've done stories where the homeowner who actually has legitimate title to the home gets arrested. It's actually ridiculous. And I give them credit. Everybody who's dealing with a squatter situation who didn't go in there and whip somebody's ass or, didn't get somebody tuned up. Shout out to y'all for being responsible, mature adults and trying to handle it the proper way. Because I'll be honest, I don't know if I got that type of patience. I'm gonna just be honest. I pray to goodness I never had to be in that situation. But you would want to lay hands on somebody if they won't get out of your house. Is nothing. You can't get around it. I think that would be actually a normal reaction. Low key, if I was a juror and that was a situation, I was like, he was charged with assault. Who did he assault? The squatter? Not guilty. Hung jury.
Of our property.
Standing in the rain, practically begging a stranger to move out of their home. Marcia and Carlton Lee never thought they'd be facing off with an alleged squatter.
Someone is in my house saying that they moved in a month ago. I am livid right now.
Marcia says she came by her property last week to show it to a prospective buyer. To her surprise, she says a family of 3 and their dog had moved in.
I have a realtor standing on the sidewalk waiting to see this property. The buyer is across the street. He gets out and I had to apologize and let them know, like, I can't show you this home right now.
Damn,
She and her husband came back with police. They say a woman who identified herself as Stacy claimed that she bought the home back in February and was the new owner.
And they said, we've been here for a month. I said, no, you haven't. I just showed this property 2 days ago.
They say the woman showed them this mortgage document. But after looking closely, Marcia says she noticed the property pin was inaccurate.
Shout out to her for being able to spot it. The problem why people can get away with squatting because the way the laws are written in states that haven't updated their laws is it's not a criminal issue. It's a court matter that's done by the eviction court, the court that handles evictions and tenant landlord stuff. And it just makes it horrible. So you got to think about how much money she's losing. The time that her and her husband have to actually deal with this shit in court. In this climate, the property value could potentially not be going up. It could be what she could sell that property is going down and down each day. If I were buying that property, you'd be like, yo, what if I buy this property, then I come back and the day after I buy it, these people in here, I might have to choke somebody. Like it is the cost, loss of work, having to go back and forth to court, hiring an attorney if you aren't going to do it yourself is an expensive process. It's terrible. And squatters who squat in a home like this, like, yo, that all that shit should be a felony in my book.
The ABC 7i team did some digging and learned the pin matches a house in Country Club Hills, not this Southside property.
This documentation is not valid. So she's trespassing on my property.
But the couple says police still wouldn't remove them.
Oh, you're both victims. We can't make her get out. They're laughing at me as they're telling me that this is a civil matter.
We saw your story.
That's terrible. They laughing at her. That is absolutely the worst. Shame on those cops. That's terrible.
Before, we like your coverage. That's why you were the first one that we called, because we want action.
Illinois State Representative LaShawn Ford says he's working hard in Springfield to crack down on squatting.
It's happening, as you know, across the state, and it puts owners and landlords in a bad position.
As rent prices continue to soar, he believes the problem is only going to get worse in Illinois.
Once they get in, the landlord has to go through what you call the Forcible Entry Act in order to evict them. That means that they have to go to court.
Under Ford's proposed law, police would have the power to remove a squatter from the property the moment the rightful owner can prove it's their home, bypassing the months-long eviction process. It's legislation this couple calls common sense.
Like, I really think
it is common sense. And shout out to him. And this should be passed unanimously. It should be passed unanimously. I mean, honestly, states have been doing this now for probably about a year and a half. So they actually are extremely behind the curve.
It's a joke.
Representative Ford met the couple at their property and knocked on the door, hoping to speak with the woman inside. No one would come out to speak with us. The couple says they are at their wits' end, but one thing they won't be doing is paying the people to leave.
The first thing that they asked my husband when we walked up to the door with the police that first night was, are you going to give us our $8,000 back? I spent $150,000 to rehab this property, to let somebody else come in this property and tear my property up and tell me it's theirs? Yeah.
That's crazy. $150K to rehab it. Buyers can't even get in to see it. That's insane.
I'm upset.
We did try calling Stacy, the woman inside the home. She did not return my call. And CPD telling us Area 2 detectives are investigating. Meantime, Representative Ford says his proposed bill is being reviewed in the Rules Committee. But he says he has gotten pushback from homeless advocates who fear this would increase homelessness in Illinois.
What? What? That's the stupidest thing. I get a homeless advocate does not want homeless people. So their preferences, they would rather have homeless people taking unlawful possession of the real legitimate owner's property. That's actually crazy. Like, that's a crazy argument. This should pass unanimously. Anybody who votes against this should probably be out of office. I can't think of one situation where you would be like, oh, let me see. Maybe if it's a situation where there's like a legitimate dispute over title of the property for whatever reason, but very rare, limited circumstances with squatting, with that's crazy. Like, we can't get rid of this rule because it's going to increase the homeless population. Staying in the house is going to increase the homeless population because people ain't have nowhere to go. They can't get in their own damn house. Sometimes everything shouldn't be advocated for. I don't know if I'm wrong for saying that, but everything should not be advocated for. That's ridiculous. Let's see. It was something I wanted to see. I wanted to answer this right quick. Yeah, after 3 years, it can be terminated if the milestones are set by the court. That's in most places. In most places, I've had cases where you have a client who actually does all of the right things, and you come see them they come see you about their probation, and they like, I did my community service, my anger management courses. I had a job. I've been working there for 2 years. I got an associate's degree over the last 2 years. And hey, Your Honor, we're asking the court to be inclined to terminate this probation and waive the fees. He have paid a substantial number of fees, about 50% of the fees. But remember, Your Honor, he's a student. He does work a job, but it's a job. He's also paying the cost of school out of his pocket. You'll say all of these great things, and judges will be like, cool. Nobody in Georgia is letting Young Thug off his probation, not after 3 years. Maybe after, if he got 15 years probation, somebody might consider it when he get past year 7. Because this ain't no regular misdemeanor shit. This dude was charged with running a criminal organization that was allegedly putting out bodies on the street when he was out here allegedly doing this thing. Like, nah, it's no way that like any judge, I don't care how good he did on this probation. He could be Mary Poppins. No judge will, if a judge lets him out of his probationary sentence anything less than 8 to 10 years, they probably gonna lose the election immediately. I would be like, I'm running. This dude did what? He let Young Thug out of his probation after 3 years. He was charged with a felony RICO offense. Oh nah, I'm gonna be like, vote for DFD. I'm tough on crime. He isn't. That's how that would play out. What's up? How are you? You good?
Yes.
Did you eat something? Yeah. Everybody see your jacket. Why you sit there looking stupid? Get out of here, girl. Don't do that. Why I can't bang the gavel to the end. You come in here messing up my props. What's up? You eat something?
No.
Oh, that's why you came up here?
No.
Why y'all didn't get something to eat? All right, let me finish up. You need something? You good?
No. I just wanted this.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm almost done. I was gonna give your dog a bath, but they're gonna give him one tomorrow, so I just left it alone. All right. So yeah, I just don't see nobody getting rid of Young Thug probation. I don't give a damn how old he is. It's probably not gonna happen. That's crazy. The activists telling squatters what to do to circumvent the legal system to their advantage is fucking terrible. Last year, I saw where a person had a new floating home built and moved into place. When they went to move in, someone had already done so, and the city would do nothing. Those stories are absolutely terrible. It's crazy out here. These squatters have people telling them how to stay. It's crazy. Yeah, they got a whole show on Netflix. Is it called? Like, I think it's called Roommate from Hell, or My Worst Roommate. But one of the stories was about a guy who went to law school, but he never passed the bar, and he hadn't paid rent anywhere in like 6 years. But he was mad nice at landlord-tenant law, and like even attorneys were like, "Yo, he moved into your place. You might as well just go and let him have it." It was crazy because this lady let him move in as a roommate, and he was cool for like 2 months. Then he just started acting mad weird and took over and wouldn't leave and wouldn't pay rent. So she would just have like her friends come over and keep him up all night. They were partying and stuff. And the whole time I was watching, I was like, man, she ain't got no boyfriend or no boys or no brothers, because he'd have got out of my place one way or another. Hospital gurney, one way or another. But I don't know. I think that's kind of ridiculous. All right, now we're about to jump into our main story for the night. We're going to talk about the mayor of Jonesboro, which is actually kind of ridiculous. There's 3 videos we're going to look at. But before we dive into this video, I want to talk about something. This is for everybody. You all would be amazed at the comments I get. Like, okay, like there's definitely nothing wrong with being like a supporter, like, hey, I want to support Black businesses and I'm pro-Black. But you would be amazed. Literally, this sounds crazy. I would do a video on, let's say I did the video on the council members from South Carolina who were charged with felony bribery and all of this stuff. And it's always 1 or 2 people in the comments was like, yeah, I see you really like talking bad about Black people. I was like, yeah, because they committing crimes. I was like, 1, I'm Black. 2, they're committing crimes. Like, what is the community that I'm going to interact with? I own property in South Carolina. Yeah, I talk about other persons of other races and from other geographical areas who commit crimes. We talked about scammers from other countries. We did some stories on some squatters who were of other nationalities and races. Like, hey, we touch it all here. But hey, I'm a black guy in a community that's mostly black. I see these stories. So, I'm going to tell the stories that I think are worthy and that people want to reach out to have me tell. If you feel some type of way about me telling a story about somebody who's violating the law, I don't give a damn if they black, white, plaid, or something. You must be violating the law too, or something. You don't want me to talk about R. Kelly because he black. That's what you're saying. Like, come on, man, get out of here, bro. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. Like, it's actually really crazy, and those comments are like actually goofy, and it goes to show that hey, sometimes it's some dense folks out here in our society. That's just what it is. I mean, it is what it is. Let's see. Yeah, it's insane out here. It's insane out here. I try to break it up, but damn it, I'm a black person in a black community, and I'm gonna talk about shit that I see that's going on in my community. You know why? That's because I'm talking about. And if somebody else give me a story about somebody from Mars that's interesting, I'm talking about that shit too. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this next story. We staying in Georgia. We're talking about the mayor of Jonesboro. There are a few stories. You good? Hello? There's a few stories that we got to get through. Let's go and jump in the order that they actually occurred. So let's take.
All new tonight at 6 o'clock, we have an update to a story we first brought to you only on 11 Alive. We have now learned the Jonesboro mayor is the target of a criminal investigation. And now she says some city leaders tried to deny her access to City Hall.
Right now, the mayor is under investigation for allegedly pointing a gun at a police lieutenant.
Okay. Like, that's actually crazy. Just to have those allegations of being under investigation as a mayor for pointing a gun at a police lieutenant is absolutely crazy. Now, in a situation like this, who do you think would whose story? Let's just say you completely don't know who these people are. You hear the mayor, the police lieutenant is saying the mayor pulled the gun on him. I don't know. Like, there had to have been a gun somewhere, because I just don't see a police lieutenant saying that, hey, this mayor pulled the gun out on me and there's no gun. Not saying it can't happen. People lie all the time, but the allegation is actually wild.
Our Erica Murphy spoke with the mayor today. She has the latest on this investigation.
Mayor Donya Sartor tells me that other city leaders took her access to the Jonesboro City Center away. That is, until a Superior Court judge stepped in to intervene.
So on Tuesday afternoon, we were advised that a temporary restraining order was in place.
That makes sense.
Signed by a Superior Court judge in Clayton County, which basically reversed any decision to ban me from the building.
When allegations surfaced of Mayor Donya Sartor pointing a handgun at an officer last week, city leaders moved quickly to ban her from the building. However, Sartor's attorney says that decision was not in line with the city's charter.
If a person can make an allegation against an elected official, and based upon that allegation alone, they can get that elected official unseated or essentially neutralize their powers, that just doesn't pass muster regardless of what jurisdiction it is.
Jackson says she presented the case to Superior Court Judge Geronda Carter, and this week Carter issued a temporary restraining order. The document allows Sartor back into the building and orders all city-issued tools of her work to be returned.
From everything that I have
Tools of her work. What tools we talking about?
read, the only person who has the authority to unseat the mayor or remove her from office is Brian Kemp.
11 Alive News did reach out again to the chief and city council members for comment, but no one answered our requests. As for Sartor, she returned to her office on Wednesday. A hearing on this matter is slated to take place in Superior Court on September 29th. Reporting from Jonesboro, Erica Murphy, 11 Alive News.
So that's kind of how it started. Like, did she pull a gun? Didn't she pull a gun? Was the gun actually present? Did she pull it out but not really brandish it, but she was showing them something, or just had it visible while she was moving it from one location to the next? The whole argument got ridiculous, and the fact that this was even an allegation, it just goes to show that it's absolutely ridiculous. This probably shouldn't come up. There was an actual gun involved. There was questions about whether or not it was pulled out in a manner to be like, yo, bro, push your muffin top back, or like, oh, I'm moving it from this location and putting it in my purse. There's some back and forth over that. But the fact that we got to this point with the mayor is kind of crazy. Then it gets more crazy. So now that we know what's going on with the blick and the pistol, let's talk about the finances. You know, on this channel, politicians have access and means to manipulate and award contracts, and I ain't gonna say most of them, but a lot of them use it to their advantage, or they just misappropriate funds and they aren't good custodians with the resources that they're afforded. So let's take a look what happened next after this.
An emotional resignation during a council meeting in Jonesboro. Fighting back tears, Mayor Donya Sartor resigned, saying she will step down April 19th. She says she chose that date so she can cooperate with a request for forensic audit. Sartor was sworn in March of 2023, becoming the first Black mayor of Jonesboro.
And more breaking news we're following for you this morning. A stunning reversal coming out of Jonesboro.
Just hours after announcing plans.
So she announced, just so we track in the previous story, she announced her, hey, I'm stepping down from office. And the reason she was stepping down was because of a financial audit. Now, should a financial audit cause you to step down? Generally, no. The only way I would step down, or I would advise someone to step down, is if I know that this financial audit is going to find some wrongdoing. Then I would probably say, yeah, you probably should go ahead and step down and avoid those charges. So after she stepped down, it was very short-lived because then this happened.
Morning, a stunning reversal coming out of Jonesboro.
Just hours after announcing plans that she would resign, Mayor Donya Sartor now says she's not stepping down, claiming she was pressured into that decision.
11 Alive's Dan Kennedy joining us from Clayton County this morning with the breaking developments. Dan, so we just got this new statement from the mayor a couple of hours ago. A lot to kind of piece together here for us.
Yeah, I mean, hot off the printer. We got this statement at 3 o'clock this morning, and it comes after the mayor indicated that she would step down yesterday, and then hours later we find out she is deciding not to resign her post, that she instead says she will stay on as mayor. So this is some of what that statement reads that we just got this morning. According to a spokesperson not associated with the city, providing this statement, quoting the mayor, Donya Sartor, she says she was under duress by several colleagues who may have nefarious reasons for trying to, quote, force me out. All this, by the way, comes after city council asked for a forensic audit of the mayor's spending. And this is what the mayor said at Thursday's city council meeting, claiming she's done nothing wrong.
Although there's been no specific allegations against me from council regarding any wrongdoing, and I attest to the same. It's important that my tenure concludes with those findings of no wrongdoing or mismanagement of funds.
If you didn't do anything wrong, don't go anywhere. I would agree with that. If she genuinely didn't do anything wrong, no reason to resign. That's what the fact that the threat of a financial audit initially caused you to resign is kind of making me looking at it sideways, because I'm like, if I know I didn't do anything wrong, I'm definitely not resigning.
Meanwhile, the city of Jonesboro posted on Facebook last night that there would be a special city council meeting tonight at 6 p.m. to accept her resignation. But this morning, Mayor Sartor is calling that meeting unlawful, saying proper notice was not given. So, Cheryl, Aisha, it really remains to be seen how all this political showdown will play out. We're told the mayor will have a news conference at 10 o'clock this morning. We'll be there to ask questions. Reporting live in Clayton County, Dan Kennedy, 11 Alive News.
Okay, so getting audited, get shook, says she's stepping down. 24 hours later, it was like, you know what? I'm not stepping down. We're going to ride this thing out to the end. And now here we are a few months later after this back and forth stepping down. I'm not stepping down. And I'm going to let y'all know what happened with the gun incident in a few articles when we get through this. Now, what happens? Well, it looks like the city council actually finally had the votes to get a financial audit done. Or a crew got the votes to actually
All right,
pass
some more
to have the
drama out
audit
of
done.
Jonesboro. Tensions are rising there as city leaders clash over a proposed forensic audit.
So this debate, it follows the mayor's surprise resignation and then quick return. And it comes amid questions about missing audits, staffing shortages, and city spending. 11 Alive's Ariana Manise has more.
The city of Jonesboro's finances are in the spotlight now that city council has voted to move forward with the forensic audit. This all comes after the mayor announced she was resigning last month, but reversed that decision less than 24 hours later. City council voted Monday night to move forward with this forensic audit after a tense meeting. This comes after city council requested a forensic audit of the mayor's spending. While the mayor says she does support transparency, she is urging the council to wait, pointing out that 2 regular audits from 2022 and 2023 are still not done.
Now, the reason why audits aren't done, just so you all are aware, the auditing firm who previously was working with Jonesboro to actually do the audit, they just kind of they was like, you know what, y'all books is such a shit show. We're going to back up and we're not even willing to deal with y'all audits and attest to the accuracy of them.
And to complicate matters further, the city's current audit firm just resigned last week, and the city does not have a finance director in place. There was also a tense, heated exchange over access to city credit cards. And at one point, the mayor called out council members for what she says is a communication breakdown, leading to this tense moment.
Well, answer your texts and your phone calls when I call y'all to talk about stuff before a council meeting, and maybe we can have some discussions. Yeah, so when I email you all about concerns regarding the city, respond. Councilman Powell, you never respond. Mayor Pro Tem, you never respond. Councilman Don Dixon, you never respond. Councilman Bobby Lester, you never respond. Don't get here and act like I have not tried to communicate with you all. I will print every email that I have
They look like they all over it.
sent you all. I will show my phone log where I reach out to you all to have conversations before we get here.
Meanwhile, the mayor says without a finance director in place and without those 2 previous audits done, it could cost the city $120,000 to complete this forensic investigation. But despite that, the council says they will move forward with this forensic audit once the staff is in place.
Don't care if it was $220,000. They should do it. Let's talk about what happened with regard to this case. But shout out to you all in the chat. That was essentially a summation of what the accusations were. The LT is like, yo, she pulled it out and said, hey, it was some type of threat. I can't remember specifically what it was. She's saying that, like, no, it was just me moving it from one location to another. There should never been a gun out in the first place. And that's how you know you're in the South, because, like, you shouldn't be able to have a gun in a courthouse, like, in just your office. Maybe if it's a lockbox that security got, that would actually make more sense. But let's take a look just to see what's going on. Charges were not filed. Let me pull this up real quick so we can see why charges weren't filed. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Jonesboro mayor reportedly cleared of wrongdoing, no charges to be filed. Clayton County District Attorney will not seek criminal charges against Jonesboro Mayor Donya Sartor, according to a press release, after the Georgia Bureau of Investigations found no evidence of criminal wrongdoing is claimed by 2 Jonesboro police officers. One officer accused the mayor of pointing a gun at him while they were alone in their office. A second claims she offered him a job in exchange for donations to her campaign. Sartor is asking city employees and citizens of Jonesboro to put the incident behind them and refocus on the city's priority. I welcome the outcome of the Georgia Bureau of Investigations and official communications from the District Attorney of Clayton County, and want Jonesboro citizens and those in the metro Atlanta to understand the due process given to the allegations brought forward by Lieutenant Newsom and Mr. Carter. As elected officials, our actions and our deeds are public record, and we will continue to provide transparency and accountability to our citizens. Blah, 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 blah. I want to thank the city of Jonesboro. I pray that we would all bring our commitment. So nothing ever came from it. The fact that she had, I don't know, like, if when you have two people, generally how it plays out, when you have two people who have no prior contact with the criminal justice system, let's just assume both the lieutenant and the mayor, they don't have any criminal convictions. And he's saying A happened, she's saying B happened, and there's no third party independent witness. Normally, not all the time, but I would say the majority of the time, that if it's just he said, she said, and it's a non-DV matter, normally that tends to end the majority in probably favor of the defendant. Now, if you have some video evidence, if you have some third-party witness to corroborate something, then you start tipping the scales. But normally, he said this, she said this, non-domestic violence situation. Both sides present their story. There's nothing presented to show that either party or a certain party is being untruthful. Not all the time, but I think in the majority of the time, if someone's looking at that objectively as a judge, it probably ends in the favor of the defendant. Now, let's take a look at this next article, because after the charges didn't proceed, there was one more thing that actually occurred. Let's go ahead and pull this up. All right, 2 officers fired by Jonesboro mayor after gun investigation, filing lawsuit against city. 2 police officers fired by Jonesboro Mayor Donya Sartor after alleging she pointed a gun at them are now suing the mayor in the city of Jonesboro. Daryl Triplett, who was suing alongside fellow former officer Roderick Newsom, said the termination was retaliation for alleging the mayor had pointed a gun at them, prompting an investigation by the GBI. While the end result of the investigation for the mayor was the Clayton County DA reporting insufficient evidence that the incident happened, both officers were suspended and later fired. After the GBI completed their review, they said there was no evidence that that there were no evidence of that allegation either. Investigators say the text messages soliciting campaign donations appeared to be a general solicitation sent to several people. They also noted that Sartor shared several reasons they did not hire the man. As previously reported, Triplett showed Lincoln his termination letter, which alleged the former sergeant had violated department policy by speaking with the news media and publicly criticizing the agency's policies. What is that putting out to the rest of the employees? That if you go against Donya Sartor, if you say anything against the mayor that she doesn't like, you're going to be terminated, Triplett told Lincoln previously. In October, Channel 2 Action News reported that the Jonesboro City Council had voted to conduct a misconduct investigation in September after multiple allegations were levied against the mayor. At the time, the mayor said misconduct claims were a political witch hunt. That's the new thing that everybody says. Political witch hunt this, political witch hunt that. I don't know. I just think that when you got your mayor talking about somebody pulled the hammer out on them, that's goofy shit. Like the fact that allegation. Now, if you got somebody saying the mayor punched me in the face, pulling out a gun is kind of all. Not saying mayors should be punching people in the face, but I'm just talking about is levels to this. This is going to be interesting to see what happens with this forensic audit and if she sticks around. The fact that they voted on the forensic audit, I think is going to be to do a real investigation or a real forensic audit on a city the size of Jonesboro, depending on the amount of human capital staff you got, auditors, financial analysts. Like it could take year and a half, maybe 2 years. If the firm is short staffed, they don't even have a firm to kind of sign off on the completeness and the accuracy of their books. So it could be a year or two before they even get this audit done. I don't think that she's going to step down now, considering that she considered crossing that bridge once and didn't do so. But the allegations look about the same: misappropriation of funds, credit card use, giving friends positions, some of the usual stuff that we normally see from politicians who have access. Let's see. What's she crying for? Everybody cries when they have allegations. Everybody cries and everybody goes to the church. If I get in trouble, I'm crying and I'm going to the church and I'm going to be in the pulpit with the pastor. I'm doing what everybody else do because that's how you curry favor. Yeah, if she didn't do anything. I don't know. It's empathy, but I agree. If you didn't do anything, you don't care. You're talking to somebody who's been subject of an investigation, not a criminal investigation, but I wasn't tripping because I was like, whatever, y'all do what y'all got to do and let me know when it's over with. And it ended up resolving itself because I knew that it was no wrongdoing on my part. Let's see. The LT and the mayor were discussing some issues. The LT said the mayor reached into the drawer, removed the firearm, pointed at him, and made a statement. Yeah, she did say that. It was kind of wild, but I don't know. I just don't think that. I just don't think that the fact that it was a gun in her office is actually crazy. I don't know how they do it down south. Maybe they let public officials, as a constitutional carry state or something. I don't know if Atlanta a constitutional carry state, but maybe they just say, hey, we're gonna let. And I have seen some states say we're gonna let prosecutors, judges, public officials carry firearms because there's a certain threat posed. Back in DC, before they actually started giving people concealed carry, you had to put in a request. So if you were like a prosecutor, they would give you one because you probably got some enemies out there. So they'll say, yeah, we'll give you a concealed carry, but you don't get one, John Doe. But I just think it's crazy to have it where a person can have a firearm in a government building and actually have it in their desk. That's kind of wild. Normally, what I see is they'll let elected officials take a firearm in, but when they go through security at the front, there's like a lock box where every civilian has to put their firearm and they give you like a little key or something. And when you leave, you go to that key or you give the officer that ticket, they give you your firearm and you go about your business. Let's see. Any city official dealing with finances doesn't want a forensic audit. Something shady is going on. I agree with that 100%. If you even if you like did a little bit of overspending isn't a crime. So even if I okay, y'all don't have a policy on the quality of the flight I have to take to get from point A to point B to do business. But if me going from point A to point B on a flight was in fact legitimate business, the fact that I upgraded to business class actually isn't a crime. So I wouldn't even care if they did a forensic audit, in my personal opinion. Let's see. No witnesses to the action shows me that it's hearsay. It's no witnesses. Nobody has any evidence to prove an inconsistency in the story or any credibility issues. The benefit of the doubt has to go to the person who's accused. That's just, I don't know if that's the former defense attorney in me talking, but hey, if me and you saying you said I broke this, I said I didn't break it, there's no one to otherwise argue it. Unless I tell a reason, a rationale for whatever the damage was that makes no sense and it's clearly a lie, the benefit of the doubt should go to the accused. That's the way our justice system works. Norm, you gotta send me that. Damn, they attacked somebody in a restaurant. Was it another political official? Now I'm interested to see. Now I'm interested to see what actually happened with that. But yeah, you guys send me that story, official debtfreedad@gmail.com. I'll definitely check it out. real quick before we get out of here, I want to talk about two things. I'm gonna talk about this on the back end. Uh, Tariffs and investing in 401ks. All right, y'all know when I started out the channel, I used to do like finance stuff real heavy. I would show my portfolio. I did net worth breakdown. I showed y'all exactly how I got out of debt, what my budget was every month. We went through all of that to get to a point where your boy didn't have any debt outside of his home. Um, so when President Trump implemented these tariffs, everybody lost their damn mind. I mean, I know people who are savvy, well-educated people who know how to invest and were like, yo, I'm pulling my money out the market. It's going crazy. Now, some people pulled their money out of the market because they had a legitimate reason. Maybe they had a federal job and they didn't know what the status of their job was. So they were like, you know what? I'm going to slow down on investing, stack some money up just in case I end up losing my job. Some people took that approach. But this was always my theory on tariffs. You all let me know. I don't know. You all let me know if this was fair or foul. But I've said this from the beginning. I think that this is just my personal opinion. Tariffs, yes, dog. Okay, I'll be done in a minute, okay? Go ahead over there. Go play. Go sit down. I'll be done in a minute. All right? Then I'll take you in the backyard. Go ahead, sit. Thank you. Sit. So tariffs do have some value if they're used strategically. But my personal thoughts were it was done to actually lower the stock market. I thought that it was a great buying opportunity. Once I seen Trump going back and forth, tariffs, no tariffs, tariffs, no tariffs. I was like, oh man, this is about to drive the stock market down, and it's going to be a great opportunity to buy. And today, as I'm in the office and I walk past the common area and I see the TV on and I would read the ticker across the screen, 90-day pause on tariff, and then the stock market actually goes up through the roof. This is just me. I don't know if this was my theory. My theory is that it was just I think that it was a money grab. If I throw the threats of tariff out there, the markets are going to react bad. The markets are going to get depressed. And people who have extra money when the market is down are at a prime opportunity to buy. So generally, my rule of thumb, and I haven't done a portfolio look in a while, but I think the last one I did, I showed what I made at the end of last year. It was like 30 something percent. But generally, I have a different investment approach. I'm kind of risk averse in most aspects, but generally they always say the people in the stock market who get hurt is like a roller coaster. The only people on a roller coaster who get hurt are the people who jump off too soon. Don't make immediate reactions if you're investing to short-term things. If you know that if you got money to sustain your lifestyle, you got an emergency fund. If you don't need what's in that market right now, oftentimes it's better to let it ride out. Now, say what you want about Trump and his first presidency, but I'll tell you, and y'all could go back and watch the videos because I posted them on all my videos on the finance videos. Typically, if you're an average, above average investor, on average, it takes about 7.5 to 8 years to double your investment portfolio. Trump's first term, most people portfolio doubled in 4 years. Normally it takes 7.5 to 8. Most people portfolio doubled in 4 years. So if over the next 4 years, that 3 years and some months that Trump is in office, if you're consistent with your investing and you're stable, your debt is low, you got a little bit of emergency fund, you are probably going to make out like a damn bandit when all of this is said and done. I knew the minute he got elected, I was like, no big purchases, not accumulating any ridiculous debt. Any funds I get extra are going into investment because I'm trying to double up in 4 years like I did during Trump 1. So that was my game plan. And the second thing I wanted to talk about real quick is, let me see. I want to get through some of these comments real quick. Trump is saving my grandkids' futures. Hey, like I said, I think, hey, Tesla is down. See, So I'm not a single stock guy. I had single stocks, but I'm not really I'm more of a, I invest in a fund that tracks the S&P 500. And doing that, I always make fairly decent returns. And I'm not saying that, hey, this is just my strategy. I don't have the bandwidth to look at it. When I was doing single stocks, I had the ticker on my computer. Every 2 seconds, I was checking it. I just invest in funds that track the S&P 500, 500 most profitable companies in the U.S. Tesla's in there, Google's in there, Home Depot, Lowe's, all the companies that people want to buy individually are in there, and it's just easier for me mentally. That's why I don't do it. But yeah, that was a good deal. That was a good deal. Tesla is depressed right now too, so I think it'll bounce back up, but I don't think it's going to bounce back up until Elon pivots out of the Doge game. But that's my personal opinion. I gotta wait and see because Elon been promising driverless software since 2016, and I want a Tesla. Everybody watch my channel. I did videos where I sold my Mercedes and I stashed most of the money because I'm saving for a Tesla. I just want a self-driving car, and I want it to be able to get me from A to B. Everybody's like, man, you still want a Tesla after what Elon doing? Like, bro, if you think Elon is stupid, this is just my view. If you aren't going to buy things because somebody is stupid or does something you don't like, you wouldn't have shit. Like you wouldn't have nothing. So like I don't know. Like I mean like, hey, I'm not jumping out there to buy it right now. But if the prices keep dropping and I can get it for what I want to get it for, I think a smart person would take advantage. That's just kind of my take on it. Now, real quick, I want to talk about 401ks, TSPs. I'll probably link it to this video. I actually got a video where I broke down investment strategies for investing in a TSP if you're a federal government employee. Because, federal government employee. I was a federal government employee. I had a TSP. A lot of people didn't know it. People in my family, that's why I made the video because people in my family did 30 years in the government and had it in one fund that was making 3% while they were missing out on all this money. So I'm at work today having a conversation. And I'm having a conversation with nothing but attorneys in the room, people who are well educated, people who are smart, very sharp legal minds. And for some reason, we were talking about the stock market and we started talking about investing. And there was actually someone in the room who didn't have their money allocated properly. When you're investing in a TSP, they have like a G fund, which is a government fund where you get like maybe 2 or 3%, but you don't lose anything. They got an F fund, it's something like a US bond where you get a certain guaranteed thing. Then they got like a C fund. They got all these different funds. When you start working as an employee, your automatic contribution and the automatic match, they automatically put it in the actual worst fund that's possible for you, which is, I think, the G fund. It's up to the employee to actually go in there and say, no, I want all of my contributions to go to this fund that tracks the S&P 500 or this fund. But this was a very educated person, but they didn't have an understanding of how they should have moved their money in their TSP. They had it in a fund that was essentially trash. And I was like, yo, in my TSP last year, I got over 32% return, which is crazy. I say that to say we are responsible. Nobody going to give a damn about your finances more than you, unless you like got a couple $1,000,000 and you got a personal broker and they're making fees off of it. Then they'll probably give a damn about what you do. I put so many bank CEOs in prison. I just kind of do a lot of my stuff on my own, but no one is going to give a damn about you and your financial situation more than you. So the onus is on you to get knowledge about it. And the very first book I ever read on investing was the Investing Guides for like Dummies or something like that. But something as simple as reading a book like that will give you a little bit of clarity. I know I have people in my family who worked in the government for 30 years. I've sat down with them now on the back end because now they'll listen to me. But I've sat down with them on the back end and they worked 30 years in the government. They contributed to their TSP, but they put it in the fund that they automatically put it in. So at the end of a 30-year career, they had $150,000. But had they put it in the right fund, they would have $400,000, $500,000, $700,000. So if you're at a job and you have a 401k, a TSP, please, I'm begging you. Like, I'm not asking you for a super chat or anything. Please take a look at your TSP. A lot of times they have classes that talk about your TSP or your 401k to educate you. Most people, the only information they get on their 401k is when they get the talk when they first hired at their job and they don't do anything else. Do not do that. You're doing yourself a disservice. I want y'all to be comfortable. I want y'all portfolios to grow. I want y'all to come back and be like, yo, I made 20%, 15%, 32% in this year, all of that stuff. I just wanted to throw that out there because I was shocked that an attorney who is so sharp didn't have the information available to make a sharp, smart decision with regard to their finances. That's my takeaway. I just wanted to come to that. Let me go ahead and check out the rest of these comments. Then we're gonna get out here. Shout out to hey Grace Levi. I appreciate you as well. I saw your live stream and I dropped you off a super chat because I like your content and you keep me up to date on some things. So I definitely wanted to show support. Sometimes I can't get in and watch all the content creators as much as I would like. So if I can't, I make sure to get in there and drop them a super chat. But she has very good content. She has some good content on various topics. One of them was our favorite super mayor, which is interesting. I'm going to try to stay off the super mayor until she says something on social media about the election. And if she's just going to walk away gracefully and quiet. I actually think so. She hasn't been going to the meetings. But y'all check out her channel if you like that type of content. Yeah, that's fair. I think all of those, I don't know about Waymo. Is Waymo in the S&P 500? Let me see. Hold on. Let's see real quick. All right. So Uber's in the S&P 500. This is why I invest in funds that just invest in the S&P. Let's see. I don't know about Waymo. What would be Waymo's ticker? Do they got a search feature on here? Oh, they got a search feature. Here you go. Let's see. Waymo, I don't think they are in the S&P 500. No. Is it just an IPO? No? Huh. Lyft is actually at a good price. $11.34 a share. Interesting. But yeah, this is why let me pull this screen real quick while we talking about money. Let me pull this screen up real quick. But this is why I invest in the S&P 500 because it's just easier and less stressful for me than doing single stocks. But these are all the companies. Every time I get paid, my automatic investment goes into it's split between all of these companies. So all the companies that you're investing in, not all, but most of the companies that you're investing in are probably going to be in these 500. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Walmart, Eli Lilly, JP Morgan Chase, Chevron, Salesforce, Abbott Laboratories, Cisco Systems, Merck, AT&T, Blackstone, Intuit, Caterpillar, Comcast, Lowe's, Pfizer, Bristol Myers Squibb, Lockheed Martin. I could go on and on. It's all the companies that Marriott, CSX, all the companies that you Target Corporation, Amtech, Prudential, the Kraft Heinz Company, General Mills, GE, like all the companies that you would buy a single stock for are in those companies. I just don't like the hassle of like it's just convenient for me. I'm not going to dive into it. I got a whole bunch of videos on the channel about what my strategy is, where I show actually my portfolio and some of my returns in previous years. But I just like to do what's easier because I'll stress out about it, and I want as less stress as possible. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that. I haven't rode in one of those driverless cars yet. I'm interested to do it, but I don't know. I'm giving her a break. That's a smart move from a strategy standpoint. You got to be able to talk about other stuff and don't worry about the views. Just worry about the content and what you're giving to your audience. Well, okay. Generally, I invest in the S&P 500, but I do have some money going to an exchange traded fund that solely invests in FinCon and tech stocks. But it's not the largest portion of my portfolio is in the S&P 500, in the funds that invest in the S&P 500. So I may have a 70% split. Then I may do I invest some in an exchange traded fund that only has nothing but defense stocks in it. And I used to not invest in defense stocks because I was like, oh man, I've been to war and defense companies make a bunch of weapons that fuck a lot of people up. But then I was like, you know what? The best way I can help is let's make some money on these defense stocks. And if I want to give to an organization with some of that money, I can do that. But I do have some money in, but the majority of my portfolio is in funds that track the S&P 500. One day I may do a pre-recorded video and just go over what I made in one of my investment funds last year and just do that maybe like a 12 or 15 minute video. I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm not a big fan of investing in gold, but I know people who are savvy investors who got all sorts of gold doubloons and shit in their house. Again, this is just me talking, telling y'all what I do. And I know some friends who got like gold bars in their house and the whole nine. I'm not a fan of it, even though gold go up in value. I get that, but I just don't see the pliability of it. Like if we get to a point where I got to actually use physical gold and chip off a piece to go trade it to someone. If we ever get to that point, my my medication, Tylenol, Benadryl, antibiotics, guns, bullets, and gas would be more important than so I'm not a fan of hoarding a bunch of gold. Like if you want to get a couple pieces to diverse, and then even if you get it, I'm gonna just keep it a buck. You probably shouldn't keep it in your house. If you're getting gold, you're probably gonna have it in a safe deposit box at the bank. If you get to the point where, I need this gold brick because the stock market and all the banks crash, you may not even be able to get into the damn bank to get to your break the safe deposit box. That's kind of my take. It's not a bad idea. I know people who invest in it and the value of that gold does go up. It's just if it gets to a point where I gotta actually trade like gold and chip it off, it's just too much for me. Not a bad look though. Oh, Nvidia, yeah. Nvidia made the YouTube rounds. A lot of people were going on Nvidia, but yeah, Nvidia definitely did make the YouTube rounds. Let's see. Yeah. I agree. If you want to do it, like you just gotta have a balanced portfolio. So if something takes an L, you don't get too hard. Like I have a portfolio with cryptocurrency. Like, am I a cryptocurrency guy? No, but I actually studied it. I was like, well, what the hell is cryptocurrency? I actually did a bunch of videos on how I invest in it. I needed to know what a Genesis block was. I need to know what it was before I invested in it. Do I invest in it? Yeah. Of my overall portfolio, what percentage is in cryptocurrency? Probably 2%, because that's all I'm willing to invest in it. So, like, generally, I'm a stock market guy. I used to want a bunch of rental properties. I sold all that shit. I was like, I don't want all that. I'm tired of. I don't want to have to deal with tenants. I'm more of a stock market guy. Gold can be good if it fits what you want to do. Like you just have to educate yourself and make sure you have a play. Don't put so much in gold to where, okay, I got too much in gold and now I'm over leveraged here. You just want to balance it out. If you balance it out and your stock, like even with my stocks, you may want to do a 70% in something that tracks the S&P 500, 10% in international stocks if you're doing funds. So you just want to make sure you got diversity. The way I explain it is, I love oatmeal raisin cookies, right? And I always use the cookie jar example. I always like, oh man, if you could buy single stocks, you could like, yo, I'm gonna get some Tesla, those chocolate chips. I'm gonna get some Nvidia, those oatmeal raisins. But what happened is Tesla stock go down. You're gonna get hit hard over the head. So I normally prefer, I'm gonna invest in a fund, and this fund focuses on the top 500 company. This fund focuses on healthcare. This fund is a fintech fund. I tend to go that way because I want to spread out my money over a diverse portfolio. If Tesla bottom out and went to zero, I'm gonna lose money, but I'm not going to be trying to jump off a building. Versus if I had 1,000 shares of Tesla as an individual stock and nothing else, oh man, it's gonna be. DFD would lose it. Yeah, I mean, you just got to do what's best for you. If I knew about farming, I would be investing in agriculture, but I don't know about farming. Like, long as you do the research and you know, it's all about what's comfortable to you. When I taught my kids how to invest, the first thing we did, I don't know if I told this story before, but I think I did on an older video. I was like, come on, y'all gonna buy y'all first stock. And they were like, what we gotta read? And I was like, we aren't gonna read nothing. We literally went downstairs and opened up the refrigerator. And I was like, write down what you see. They were like, eggs, and write down the brand, milk, cheese. They would write down the brand. Then we went to the cabinets. What do you see in the cabinets? Then they wrote down the brand. And then I said, okay, have you seen any brand names in your refrigerator or your cabinet that appeared more than 2 times? And they was like, yeah, what was it? Kraft. Okay, let's take a look at Kraft stock. And that was how I had my kids pick their first stock. What are you using in your house? If you're using it in your house, there's probably a good chance that a lot of people are using it in their house. And they ended up picking like Kraft. Another one that they picked was, of course, my son went with Microsoft because he's an Xbox guy like his dad. But you just gotta. There's nothing wrong with investing. You can invest in whatever you want as long as you're knowledgeable about the investment. I never tell somebody don't do this or don't do that. It just depends. I don't know shit about farming, so I'm not going to invest in like John Deere. John Deere probably actually a good ass stock. That shit might be in the S&P 500 for real. I might invest in it, but I don't know enough about it individually to do. Yeah. I've never had a flip before. I got some land in South Carolina that I probably need to get rid of. But flips are cool. You just have to know how to do them like everything else. I had residential real estate and I had tenants, and I had that for 10, 12 years. I had some rentals and they were cool. And I only had one bad tenant. But after a while, I just didn't want to deal with the repairs, paying a property management company because I'm out of state. I was like, you know what? I actually invested in a REIT. You're familiar with a REIT is? A REIT is a real estate investment exchange trust fund. It's kind of like an exchange traded fund, but a REIT only invests in companies that invest in residential and commercial real estate. So what I did, rather than have my money go into an actual physical property that I had to deal with or pick a property management company, I invested. I said, okay, I want to be in real estate. I just don't want to have the burden of owning the physical property. I invested in a REIT. I think it was ticker symbol O, if I'm not mistaken, Realty Income. But by statute, a lot of people don't know that if you invest in a real estate trust, because they collect rents, they have to pay out dividends monthly because they get so much cash through. Most companies, Microsoft, they may pay dividends once a quarter, once every year, twice a year. Real estate investment funds have to pay dividends every month because they get their rent every month. You got to get your proceeds every month. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do. One day I may do something a little bit more finance based. But, you know, like I said, you just got to know what you're dealing with and what you're working with. Once you do that, you'll be good to go. Yo, I'm about to jump off here. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm truly grateful that y'all support me, and I'm forever thankful and humbled by it. If y'all got something y'all want me to talk about, shoot it to me in an email, officialdebtfreedad@gmail.com. I try my best to talk about it if it's something we can get on the show. Sometimes people send me topics, but it's just too long. It'll be tough for me to get through, and it takes me an hour to do a 30-minute pre-recorded video, and I would rather just do an hour live stream. So if you send me something that is a video, if it's really, really long, it's going to take me longer to look at. I'm still going to look at it for y'all, but it's going to take me longer to look at and review to see if we're going to do a show on it, just because the content is so long and your boy's busy. Y'all have a good one. Be safe. Good night. Y'all take care. Peace.